Hey guys, it's Vaporized Creation here, coming at you with the first video I've ever posted on this channel. This is going to be more of a story time, different from many of the other Fortnite videos you've probably watched, which are live commentary or challenge videos. But if you enjoy story times and you enjoy Fortnite, then this is probably the video for you. I'm going to be telling a story about frogs, so stick around if you're interested. Yeah, thanks for coming. Enjoy the video. This story goes back years ago. So basically, one day I was at my aunt's house and we were having a family gathering as usual because we had many of those. So usually our cousins all get together and we hang out outside as the adults hang out inside and do adult activities. So basically, living in a tropical area, to see animals that tie to very aquatic atmospheres. This is not very good for me specifically because I tend to get creeped out by certain animals that have strange functions that my brain can't even fathom. Two of these animals include like lizards or frogs, you know what I mean. And so at this family gathering, I was sitting with my cousins. We were playing baseball because I was huge on baseball, and one of my little cousins, my younger cousins, let's call him M for now, he did not notice that he was standing right next to this huge frog. Like, I mean big, like this big, like this big, like huge. It was huge. It was really big. And the adults in the garage, they were, having a good time, and they noticed, oh, look, M is standing next to this huge frog. And then, they like devised a little scheme, just chatting in the corner, like, pss, 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 pss. And they look over at M, and everybody knew they were gonna say something, so the anticipation was rising. It was like, and then they stand and they're like, "Hey, M, look next to your foot." And M looks down. M looks down, and M is a small dude, right? But obviously he's bigger than this frog. But this frog was huge. I mean, he was so small, but the frog was so big. So this frog was like bigger than his foot. Like, it was big. It was big. And M looks down and freezes for a second. And without even hesitating, this man's leg rises up and he stomps down on the frog. I mean stomps, like hard. This man stomped on the frog. He stomped on the frog. And this frog flattened. Like a cartoon, this frog flattened. And like gelatin, rose from death and popped out under M's foot. This frog popped with so much force, M's foot had to bounce off and went on the side. And he got so frightened, he started running away. I was disturbed. I was livid. I was livid because this frog broke the rules of the world. This frog broke physics because M's leg bounced off. M's leg bounced off of the frog after flattening it. It was flattened. Okay. So after that, I was quite disturbed. I was very disturbed. I did not want anything to do with the animal kingdom. I did not declare myself an animal. And basically, that night in the same house, we did not go home, but we're still in that house. There were always animals in there. I remember there were times where my grandpa would it's quite violent, but he would like literally fight off snakes that were always in his yard, like it was like snake heaven in his yard. Apparently it's frog heaven too. Frogs don't die. And that night we did not leave the house, but I was walking and we were going back to the front door. And at the front door there was an animal sitting in front of it, but I couldn't tell what it was. So I was like, "Hey Jay, can you approach it?" Jay started approaching and ended up just like being like, "Oh no, it's nothing." But because we were so far away, we were really scared. So my grandpa and grandma They went up to this animal, and they noticed it was a giant tarantula. It was huge. Well, I don't know if it was a tarantula, but it was a black snake. I mean, a black spider, not a snake. They're not the same. So there was a black spider, a big one, a really big spider, just hanging out in front of the porch. Me being a young wuss that was just scarred by the animal kingdom, not too far prior to this, yeah, I wasn't about to have it with this big tarantula looking thing. So I stand behind my grandpa, I stand behind my grandma, and they go up. My grandpa goes back to the garage, and he goes to retrieve a broomstick with well, just a broom, okay? He gets a broom. He comes back, and this man lifts up the broom in the air. The spider didn't move. It was facing us. It didn't move. And slams it on the spider. And instantly, under the spider erupted a freaking mass horde of baby spiders. I was horrified. The baby spiders went everywhere. They went to the garage. They went to the house. They went into the yard. They scattered across your feet. They were everywhere. And so what I did was I started playing like hopscotch, and I was like stomping around as fast as I could. I wouldn't let my feet touch the ground. So I hop inside and I open the door, and when I go in, there like aren't any spiders anymore. So I close the door, and then I'm going to sleep, okay? And no, this is a true story. I'm not kidding. Like, this is one day's worth of story. I was laying in my bed. I was laying with my mother, and I was laying with my family, basically. We were all watching television. And my mom, she sat there, and she was, like, scratching her legs, scratching her arm a lot. And I would look over at her, and I was like, okay, like, are you good? Did you eat mushrooms or something? Because she's like allergic to mushrooms. And she was like, no, I keep feeling something on me, you know, like when you are paranoid. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then she did it again, and then I did it because I was like, oh, my neck's kind of itching, weird. And 2 seconds later, I feel something on my neck, but I think it's like an ant. I don't even think it's an ant. I think it's like hair. You know when you're like next to a girl and like her hair gets on your neck? That's what I thought it was. And so I slapped my neck real quick, and then all of a sudden, like, I see something in the corner of my eyes. I fly up out of the bed, and there is a huge spider that was on my neck after I was scarred by the animal kingdom twice. A spider was on my neck as I was laying down to go to sleep. And it was big. I don't mean like, oh, it was big. It was like 1 inch in diameter. No, it was big. It was a big spider. It was on my neck. And I freaked out. I got naked immediately. Like, I stripped. I was immediately naked, and I was running around. I took 2 showers that night. There was no getting around it. I was scarred by that spider. It was terrifying. And if you ever try to put a frog or a spider near me again, yeah, I might murder you. Okay. There are other things that happened in that house. I feel like animals were just oddly attracted to that house because a few years, not years, but animals were oddly attracted to that house because a few years, not years, but because a few months prior to that, I had an extremely interesting moment. So you know those giant RC, like life-size for a child cars that you get to drive around? Not RC, I mean they're like, you get in them and you can drive them and you're a kid. Yeah, like motorized kids cars. And so I had one of those. It was a sick red Mustang. I loved it. And me and Jay were in it, and we're in that same house. We were driving around, and we used to play this game where we would go get gas at a stop sign. So we lived at like a dead end, and there were like 3 dead end signs. So we used to go get gas. Like one of them was premium, one was regular. We, try to do grown up things. And I drove up to it, and I was like, yeah, go get gas. And then she goes up, and then she hops out the car. She's walking over to the gas, aka the stop sign, and she like acts like she's pressing buttons and getting a gas tank, so she's like poking on the sign. And out of nowhere, immediately after she pokes the sign, a swarm of bees rushed from behind the sign and were circling her like it was a cartoon, like she was completely covered. And like, you know, this would be where I get heroic and I like try to help her out, but like young me was scared. I was really terrified. I so like the car had a system where it was like horse for fast, like that was your gear shift, and in the middle was slow, it was turtle, and then it had like a backwards sign. Like mine slipped slipped down to backwards immediately, and I busted on that pedal so fast. I reversed so heavily. I turned around, went straight to horse, and zoomed up back to the garage. I'm so sorry, Jay. I'm so sorry. I was not having it with those bees. I was not having it. And I guess that's why I got attacked that one day. Ever since then, animals aren't necessarily my forte. Yeah, so that was my experience with the animal kingdom when I was younger, and that might explain my overly aggressive fear of animals to this day. If you like that video and you want more Storytime Fortnite gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, and there will be more coming. There's no set date right now because I'm truly just experimenting right now and having fun with this whole thing. But yeah, I had a lot of fun, and please enjoy the end of this gameplay and stick around to see if I catch that victory royale. Thank you.